What's up, guys? In the end of the last video, I was dropped off here in Coimbatore by Vistara Airlines. The journey on board Vistara was surprising and interesting, to say the least. If you'd like to see my views on Vistara, make sure to check out my video that journals my experience with them. In this video, I'll be continuing my journey and making my way from Coimbatore all the way to the capital of India, which also happens to be my birthplace, Delhi. Today's flight is going to be on board Air India. Now, I've flown with Air India several times previously. However, in recent times, there's been an effort to rebrand and revitalize the airlines after it became a privately owned company rather than a government-owned entity. I'm excited to see what the onboard offerings are like and if this rebranding and revitalization has brought about any changes to the passenger experience on boards. Anyways, let's make our way to the airport now. Excited to be back at the airport where this chat started about 6 months ago. Now, let's go check in. As you walk inside the terminal here, the first thing that you're greeted with is a bar. And some seats. I made my way to the check-in counter, where the line wasn't too long. After getting checked in and receiving the boarding pass, I made my way to the domestic security check. Just like at the Mumbai airport, I had to take out every piece of electronic item that I had, along with its associated cables, and place it in a tray. Then, once I cleared security, it was time to play our favorite game. There are a handful of shops here, most of which are clothing brands. Then there's a shop where you could get smaller electronic items and other travel-related items. There's also a shop where you can buy Indian stuff. Shops at the airport, boom, +1, airport. A few different shops are there where you can purchase food and beverages as well. Although most of the shops are more chocolate or dessert-centric shops, there was one place where you could get proper food, which is always good. Boom, airport. There is a hydration station and a couple of accessible men's and women's bathrooms. What I liked about this hydration station is that there were disposable cups available there, so you could drink out of a cup instead of having to lean over to get a drink. Boom, +1, airport. Although there are plenty of seats, at busier times it can get pretty crowded. If you'd like some privacy, you can go to one of the gates that aren't being utilized, such as this one on the second floor. Here was the gate I was boarding from 10 to 15 minutes before boarding started. It was pretty packed, and there were barely any places to sit. There is some seating available through the terminal, but as you saw, seating can get very limited at the boarding gates. Boom, +1, Scareport. Outlets to charge your electronic devices were present at the terminal, although they were a bit loose and droopy. After fighting with the outlet for about 5 minutes, I finally was able to find an angle at which the plug held steady. Also, there were only a handful of outlets available. Places to charge your electronic devices are definitely very limited at this terminal. Boom, Scareport. There weren't any areas where you could get good views of the flights, so if you're a plane spotter, this isn't an airport you'll enjoy. Unfortunately, the views to the flights outside are fairly limited as well. Boom, +1, Scareport. So our total tally comes out to 3 for airport and 3 for Scareport, making this a tie. Alright, so this is the first time we've had a tie for an airport, so let's go to the tiebreaker round now. Okay, cool, so there was a bar right when you enter the airport. Boom, Scareport. As far as Wi-Fi goes, there is free Wi-Fi available at the terminal, but you need an active phone number on which you can get a one-time password in order to be able to access it. Boom, Scareport. Now, having said those two things, this airport was where I started the channel and made my first video. So, boom, +5, airport. Alright, so our new tally comes out to 5 for Scareport and 8 for airport, making Coimbatore International Airport officially an airport. Alright, on a more serious note though, the airport at Coimbatore is not a bad place. Just don't get here too long before your flight or try to avoid any long layovers at this airport. Anyways, it is windy as hell out here and I'm going back in. Let's go back to the airport now. At gate number 4 now, but there seems to be no plane in sight. This has been an unfortunate trend over here, but that's fine. Let's hope it shows up shortly. 25 minutes past the scheduled boarding time, the plane finally showed up. And another 5 minutes after that, boarding finally began. Boarding was done in zones, and it was also very organized, unlike at Mumbai Airport. I made my way through the jet bridge for some close-ups of this Airbus A321 that we'd be boarding shortly. Once on board, I made my way to the seat I had selected for the afternoon, seat 30A. The seat on board this very red and orange looking cabin had a decent amount of legroom and knee space. In the seat back pocket, there was the usual safety information card, and yeah, that's it. There was a standard seatback tray which had an advertisement on it, which to be honest felt a little low-cost carrier-ish. The overhead panel contained individual reading lights and individual AC vents. It also contained a unique feature: condensed dirt from everyone who had touched it previously. There was a very old entertainment system remote. There definitely is an entertainment system here, but it's just been covered up. As you can see in the other seats, it's not covered up. There was also a seat recline button. As we made our way out to the runway, one of the things that came to my attention is the lack of maintenance in this cabin. One of the first things another passenger mentioned as well was how dirty the interiors were. We eventually made our way out to the runway and prepared for the first takeoff. After a slightly bumpy takeoff, I was surprised to see that there was a snack service for the first leg of this trip, which consisted of a sandwich, some ketchup, and an orange juice. So what I haven't mentioned yet in the video is that this wasn't a direct flight from Coimbatore to Delhi. This flight had one stop, so it would go from Coimbatore to Chennai, and then from Chennai to Delhi. During this 40-minute pit stop in Chennai, the passengers going all the way till Delhi did not have to deplane. They could just stay on board and wait for the new passengers to board and then make their way to Delhi, which is what I did. Also, interestingly enough, when we were at Chennai, although the cabin crew stayed the same, the crew in the flight deck, the captain and the first officer, changed. We then approached Chennai for our first landing of the day. As we waited for the people from Chennai to board, I decided to check out the lavatory. The lavatory on board this A321 wasn't huge, but it wasn't tiny either. There was an Air India branded soap and a sink of a decent size. Although similar to the rest of the cabin, you could tell that this lavatory was not well maintained either, and it was fairly dirty. There was a power outlet. Hey, another lavatory that features an AC vent. and a coat hook. Air sickness bags, or barf bags, were also equipped in the lavatory. Then there was the sink that kept leaking water. But to be honest, I prefer a leaking tap over standing water as on board Spirit and Frontier Airlines.
Alright, so now people from Chennai are boarding, and once that's complete, we will start making our way to Delhi.
Eventually, all the people from Chennai boarded as well, and we made our way out to Delhi. We taxied out to the runway for our second takeoff of the day. As we took off, we made our way into some ominous-looking clouds. But soon enough, they cleared up and it was a smooth ride once again. On this leg of the flight, there was a full meal provided, which consisted of a potato salad, a bar of chocolate, a bottle of water, and the utensils that came along with this meal were silverware. But as the trend continues, they were also not very well maintained or clean. As usual, I got myself the vegetarian option, which was some paneer curry and pav bhaji, which is essentially curry with some bread. There was something I wanted to mention about the crew on board this flight. This was the first time ever I have seen an all-male cabin crew on board, and the captain was a female. After the meal service was done, we got some incredible views of the sunset over India. We then made our way above Delhi and prepared for landing. Unfortunately, you can't see much because it's dark, but this is when we touched down.
Alright guys, we made it to Delhi. Flight's right there. Cool, so the crew on board that flight was incredible. The cabin, however, could use a bit of work. Wasn't the prettiest, but was fairly comfortable.
Alright guys, so Air India. The hard product definitely needs a lot of work. The cabin was not very clean at all. The seats were fairly comfortable, and there was a full meal service on board. Now, as for the soft product, the cabin crew on board this flight were very friendly and very helpful. Now, in terms of cost, I paid approximately 9,900 rupees for this flight, which is the equivalent of about $120. The closest competitor, Indigo, is a low-cost carrier that does not offer any meals on board and does not offer any of the perks that Air India does. So Air India is a better value than its next closest competitor. But having said that, if you are a little flexible on budget, I would highly recommend Vistara over Air India, as their cabins were a lot more clean and the level of service is about the same. I'd love to hear from you guys now. What have your experiences on Air India been like? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you guys found this video either helpful or entertaining, and I'll see you on the next one.